Hello, and welcome back to another chassis video here. As you can probably guess from the title, this is still with the Black Hawk Q, and we are with the Charlie configuration. So, what is the Charlie configuration of the Black Hawk? Well, it is, it's adequate. It's basically, it turns the mech into a sniper, and that's pretty much all the background there is to it, unfortunately. It's a single Gauss rifle with a laser, and it's not great. That's really it. The mech is perfectly functional. In universe, it makes sense. Being able to have a powerful weapon system like the Gauss rifle with a single backup is perfectly adequate for what it's supposed to do on the battlefield, which is obviously to get into a nice area that's got good sightlines, and it can use a weapon that's got obviously very, very good range and very high damage output for little to no heat generation, and then the ability to extricate itself from any issues it's got because of being an Omni-Mech. It's got jump jets built in by default, and all the rest of it, so it works in that regard. In MWO, however, it ain't a good configuration. Again, I'm kind of confused as to why the Omnipods were placed in for this one, but not for, say, the Alpha, which I still feel would have been a better support unit in MWO outside of this one. But the Omnipods are there. The only difference they made was that it has, I believe it has 2 ballistics hardpoints in the arm instead of just 1. So you can probably turn this into something a bit more punchy, give it a couple of things like light ACs maybe in the arm, or like a couple of AC2s, or a rotary system, or something along those lines. Probably would work better. Obviously, the energy armor would be whatever one you want, so you could have a single or a couple of like cheaper ballistics with a bunch of lasers in the other arm. It's the beauty of the Omnipods, right? You can kind of swap out whatever ones you want for whatever kind of combination of armaments that you want. Outside of that, it's pretty much suffering all the same issues that the standard Black Hawk Q does, which is it's got relatively low slung arms, and that's kind of its main problem, is that the low slung arm syndrome really does it a bit of a fucking injustice, because otherwise it'd be a pretty good build overall as a sniper. In MWO, though, as I said, it just really struggles. So yeah, I kept this match mainly because I came to the conclusion of, with the way that the build exists in the game, it's 2 ton of ammo, by the way, sorry for the Gauss rifle. With the way that the build is in MWO, I'm really not going to get a better match. It would either turn into one of those games where the other team are just going to stomp you, or my teammates were going to be the ones who just completely carried, and I would just be getting a little, plink damage every now and then. It's one of the main drawbacks of MWO and the way it's designed, is that it doesn't have any function for players to have, well, really many of the actual in-universe builds, because they're just not capable of doing the same level of damage as any custom build. Why, for instance, would you take a standard Locust with the medium laser and the 2 machine guns when you can obviously bump the number of weapon systems up on the Locust by default, and you can swap out the engine and change the armor loadout and all the rest of it, and you make a Locust that's capable of doing a hell of a lot more damage a lot more quickly. And it's the same with these configurations. Obviously, I like to run them like this because there's usually a little bit of background for them. But therein is one of the big issues that I've always had with the writing of BattleTech, specifically to do with the way Omni-Mechs are written. They generally have a pretty good write-up for why they were built and why they came about, but the configurations never really seem to have much beyond the, oh, it was built, and here's a bunch of configurations that are built for different roles, and that's it. There's no kind of character or quirk to them, unfortunately. It's always just a case of, this is the configuration for urban combat, this is the configuration for long range fire support, this is the configuration for like lance support or star support, this is the one that is good at open field combat, and then this is a silly one that was obviously just written up because you can build it, and that's it, unfortunately. And it kind of sucks. I would love for there to have been a reason, like the designers sat down and went like, okay, so, you know, we need a configuration that is built to help in this scenario. Okay, the designers were presented with the issue. They came up with, okay, so what if we make an omnipod that can carry a Gauss rifle? And it was designed during one of the operations that was happening around that time. You know, during the conflict. This isn't obviously actually like in history, but as an example, during the Ghost Bear Dominion Kurita conflict, or the first one, a situation arose where pilots of the Black Hawk were outranged or outgunned, and the request came through that they needed a configuration to be designed that would assist with allowing Black Hawk Q pilots to be able to give long-range fire support for their lance mates. So within a relatively short amount of time, the manufacturer comes up with an omnipod that has a few options, obviously, for long-range fire support. It could be missiles, it could be ballistics, it could be energy. They settle on the Gauss rifle. The company has a load of those, or had a load of these Gauss rifles that were in storage. They weren't being used in any other builds because they had finished production on a different mech that used Gauss rifles, so they repurposed the excess stock, put them into the omnipod, and hell, the configuration is born. Black Hawk KU's omnipods are relatively cheap, so you don't have to rebuild the whole mech in its chassis. You just build the omnipod, they ship it out, they slot it in the field, and there you go. The C configuration exists. Same for the B, same for the A, and so forth. And it could just as easily have been written up for the clans as well. You know, why does this configuration of the summoner exist? Oh well, during a battle over the Tokasha mech works, you know, a star commander wanted to have a configuration that he knew would be more beneficial for him in a fight in this particular area. So he requested that the technician cast or whatever came up with that, and that became a successful configuration for the mech, and we go on from there. That would have been fine. I think that would have been kind of cool. It doesn't need to be a huge amount, it just needs to have like a brief reason why these different configurations came about. But the TROs always just have them, and that's it. They just, you know, this is the sniper, this is urban combat. And for all the great stuff that usually gets written into the universe, a lot of the Omnimex just have a pretty lazy kind of write-up for this stuff. Now, obviously, I've been rambling, I've been blown up. This was a round I think the team easily could have won. We had the momentum going into the early part, but the team spread out on Madman Shite, and then we had this scenario. The two last remaining teammates do my absolute favourite thing that I see in MWO, from a decade plus now, is the I'm going to sit at the back of the map and snipe people. It's a winning strategy, isn't it? Always, when you get these players who don't want to get into the thick of it, they don't see the fight turning against or anything. They're gonna sit there and they're gonna, you know, they're gonna fight at range. It's what, there's more than half of their team left. The Phoenix Hawk is instantly called out. Mainly because he stood out in the open on a hill, and now it's just the Cauldron Ball on his own. And I never get this idea. And at the end of it, they go, yeah, but I did more damage than you, bro. It's like, it's not about damage though. If you're trying to win the match, why didn't you get involved in the fight? Why are you sat on a hill sniping people with large lasers? It doesn't contribute. It's always funny. And it'll never die. It happens in so many other games as well, not just MWO. But yeah, the C configuration, it's there. You can do it with a whole lot of mechs. But yeah, that's it. So thanks for listening as always. Thanks for watching. Have a good week, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.